What is going on, everybody? It's Real with Jordan and Demi. What's up, Demi? Demi on the West Coast. West Coast Demi.
Jordan, yeah, Jordan, we're waiting for you here. What's going on?
I'm trying to get out there, trying to get out there. Now, just a quick anecdote. Demi shared a story with me that she ran into our recent podcast guest. Tell that story real quick, Demi.
No, like literally not even funny. When people say like everyone's in LA, like they're not even kidding. We had Swaco on the show, was it one episode ago? And yeah, I literally had just landed in LA. I was walking down the boardwalk on Venice Beach, and see this emo looking kid. I'm like, oh, this is okay, LA style. I look closer, it's freaking Swaco. It was Swaco. So that was that.
Yeah, and yeah, we don't have it, but that's so weird and coincidental because I assume when you said that it was some kind of industry event that you went to, or you had a manager in common or something like that.
No, he was literally eating tacos, and it was interesting time.
Interesting time.
Yeah.
Well, today's show is not about Swaco. Is it about somebody else? A very talented singer-songwriter. She's from Texas. She's put out several albums, including Suburban Nature and Bad Baby, and her latest EP, The Championship, is out now. Please welcome to the show, Sarah Jaffe. What's going on?
What's good? Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I was trying to read my intro like from my laptop 6 feet away.
Oh,
it wasn't easy. So, are you coming from your home studio, your spot? Where are you at right now?
I'm here at my apartment in Brooklyn, in Ridgewood, Queens.
Wait, you are literally about probably 9/10 of a mile from me right now.
Are you really? When you said that, I'm just like right around.
I'm just on the Bed-Stuy side of Broadway.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
So
that's very
close
like
to Forest.
Out of all the places in the world and all the places where you can do music, how did you end up in New York?
I moved here a couple of years ago. I had been living in Texas and still travel there very frequently. But I just felt like I needed to move a little bit and get going. I had just been there for so long. But
why'd you choose New York over LA?
I had very briefly lived in Los Angeles. At this point, a decade ago. I think New York just always just kind of resonated with me in a way. It's just like scrappy, and New Yorkers just find a way. And I, at the time, had just been, let's get real. I had just gone through a divorce, and I was feeling scrappy. And New York was someplace I always wanted to go. So.
That sounds like a movie I would watch. You get a divorce, you change locations, fresh new life.
Coming to you on Netflix.
Yeah.
Another white girl. Yeah.
Another white girl moves to a new city. Yeah.
That's right.
Exactly. So let's start out with what you're doing now, this EP, The Championship, which it's an EP, but it's 2 songs, kind of a single with a B-side sort of style. So first of all, the sound of this is very upbeat. It's optimistic. It's nice. It's very like ear candy-ish. So
thank you.
I love the song Frances McDormand, Catherine O'Hara. It's great song. So let's talk about that song specifically. What do you love about these 2 actresses, and why you decided to write this song?
Well, they're the best, right?
Yeah, you say that in the song. They're the best.
Yeah, the best. I think I've just been writing a lot of pop lately, and I enjoy. I mean, that's pretty much all I listen to. And it's obviously very far departure from Suburban Nature, but I think these progressions with each release really just came from top lining, from writing for other artists, and it just kind of naturally leaking into my process. But I think these are just more upbeat because I'm booed up. I'm happy. I'm in love.
Oh, you got a new boo.
I'm booed up.
Okay,
yeah.
Whoa, pause. You gotta stop. So you moved to New York. I want to know how you adjusted to New York. But like, is this a New York guy? Like, what kind of guy is this? What's going on?
Oh, it's a she. I'm very much a gay lady. but
Let's go.
yeah, she is fantastic. I mean, if I'm being honest, I've spent the majority of my year indoors, and so I haven't explored New York as much as I would love to. But you know, fall's here and things
Such a
you can
romantic
almost
time.
forget the dim. Yes,
It's
yes.
such a romantic time. I mean, they
Exactly.
made a movie with Richard Gere and Winona Ryder, Autumn in New York.
Autumn, and who could forget?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's when you go, are you a romantic dater? Do you like romantic dates, or do you think that stuff is kind of cheesy?
I'm sentimental, but you know, we're like hang at home, smoke a little green, watch a movie kind of gals. Yeah.
Sounds right. Sounds about
Yeah.
right. Sounds about right. Uh so back to the music, you have you talked a little bit about this new optimistic, more poppy sound. Is this a teaser for a longer EP or an album, or what do you got coming down the pike?
I definitely will be releasing a record that I'm in the process of writing now. It just kind of just started. Um, Honestly, the last year, I think a lot of artists and people, for that matter, just it's hard to split your brain into creative mode versus survival mode. So I
Right.
feel like the ice is just now kind of melting, and so I just started getting back into writing, and I'm gonna be going back into the studio. So we should have a record in 2022. Another
Whoa.
one.
I
Yeah.
want to talk about writing in your process.
Yeah.
It may sound like a crazy, like three-part question, but I came across your album Suburban Nature. I was in high school and I remember hearing Swelling and
Yeah.
just like, when you feel like a song can describe, like, it describes exactly how you're feeling in that moment. And I was probably like 16 and all my feelings.
Mhm.
And that became like my song to like be in my feelings. And I mean, coming from a such vulnerable place, I just want to know your process with your writing.
It's so interesting to me that these, like these teen moments, because I was very much still living with my parents when I wrote that record. And I mean, a lot of those songs, I was 18, 19 years old, and just in my bedroom, right? And just like you said, just like feeling all the things, all of it. And it's so interesting to me coming back to that and playing those songs, a lot of those songs live, and them just continuously resonating with me as a now 35-year-old woman. So I still very much write the same way, just like from a fundamental, uh, just me and an acoustic guitar. Um, Most times, I mean, a lot of times I'll kind of have a melody in my head for a little bit until it finally makes its way out. But um, honestly, I still very much write the same way I did when I was writing Suburban Nature, just me in my bedroom.
How do
Do
you
you
feel
ever-
about Go ahead, Demi?
I was wondering, do you ever experience like writer's block? Especially I find working with like the more people you work with, it's kind of like you have to extend yourself emotionally, almost like synthetically.
Always, absolutely. Yeah, that's why I mean, that's collaboration is so key at a certain point. I mean, when you just start out in anything, everything's fresh and new, and there's just so much to unleash. But once that thing becomes your full-time job, the psyche changes and it becomes work. And writer's block is always. So that's why it's important for me to actually put myself in a physical space of other people, an actual studio, the intention, of sitting down and writing and getting outside of my own head. It's so important to be in that environment for me.
I find that your comment interesting, Sarah, because in the early part of your career, you had a really big output. You released one thing after another in that 2010 to 2014 kind of era. Do you find it more difficult to get into a writing space now than it was 10 years ago?
Yeah, I find it difficult because kind of like I was saying, like my mentality has changed, and I think I can be a little too I can get a little too comfortable, and it's easy for me not to push myself and to still have that mentality of like the song will come when it's ready, which is a pretty precious mentality. I think it's important to exercise it like a muscle, you know. And even, you know, I talk about this a lot with friends, just even if what you're writing is absolute shit, it's still important to write that, just because you're, you know, getting those muscles in shape. So yeah, did that answer it, or was that a ramble?
Yeah, I think that was good enough. That was sufficient. That was sufficient, an appropriate answer. So over the years, Sarah, you've had a ton of songs placed in soundtracks and commercials and stuff like that. Private Practice, One Tree Hill, that newer side, Sex Life. Why do you think your songs fit well into TV shows and cinematic moments? And is that part of your plan? Do you enjoy putting, besides the royalty checks, do you enjoy seeing your music on screen?
Absolutely. It's so cool. I mean, it just opens up a new audience, right? I mean, I think they work because they're moody and there's a lot of space. You know, I feel like, especially the earlier songs, they don't step on toes, and most definitely those checks. Those are great. It's definitely not expected, or I guess expected is the wrong word. It's definitely not the intention when I'm setting out writing a song, but it's such a bonus, an absolute bonus to have.
The story kind of goes Texas, LA, and then Texas. Is then you went back to Texas, right?
Yeah, I did. LA just kind of kicked.
Did you like it? I know. I really want to know.
My ass. I mean, I was like, you know, we all have so many different lives in our life, and that life, I was a baby. And just a different person, wasn't really set in myself, didn't really know what I wanted to be or do. I mean, I knew I wanted to play music, but LA was just kind of ate me up and spat me out. And I just don't think it was the right time for me. I would love to eventually own a home in Los Angeles. I think it's a fantastic place, and unbelievable amount of fantastic artists. I mean, every time that I'm there, it's sunny. Like, people are just like, I don't know what it is about LA, but I always
Beach or
waking
mountains?
up
Which one?
4 hours earlier. What's that?
I said
beach or mountains?
Beach or mountains? Which one do you prefer?
Oh, I like the mountains. That's why Cali, baby. You got both.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We talked a little bit about the soundtrack thing, and you actually wrote several songs for a movie a few years ago, Never Going Back. What was that process like? And did you know how much you know about, was the movie already done? How much did you know about the movie before you wrote the songs for the soundtrack?
That was a really cool process, because I was able to be involved from the jump with the director, who is also based out of Dallas. And she kind of came to me up front and just asked if I would be interested. Naturally, I was. Super, super talented. I'm spacing on her name, which is an absolute atrocity. She's my friend. You'll never forget an actual friend's name. But yeah, I was very involved, and I knew kind of the vibe. You know, they basically were wanting to create this environment that was their own world. Like, every song that lived in that movie was, you know, a part of that environment, a part of their worlds. And so I just kind of created little like snippets of songs, and we would send ideas back and forth. We had like the shared playlists. So there was an involvement up front that I hadn't had before. And it was not only extremely helpful, but just such a fun process to just kind of unpack as she progressed, and as the movie you know, went into actual production, you know, like visiting the set and meeting everyone. It was really, really cool, and I learned a lot from that particular movie.
That's a good answer. I was hoping that was that, and not it was a nightmare and I hated it.
Oh, it was so wonderful. Yeah. Well, we all have those moments and we learn
Yeah.
from them too. But
Yeah.
it was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Now when you're going on tour pretty soon, right? I saw some dates on your press materials.
Yes, I'm going out with Torres again. We actually leave in 2 days. So
Oh yeah,
first
so it's
stop
like
is
the second leg, and
right.
yeah. So we've heard the stories of joy about performing again, because it had been like early 2020 before you had done this before. But the difference between, besides getting to perform for audiences again, you're getting to perform songs that you haven't performed for audiences before. So how have you approached this tour, these 2 legs of this tour, differently than maybe past tours because of the break?
Absolutely. I mean, there's very much a mutual appreciation that is physically felt now when performing. I'd always kind of bitched about touring. Touring was never, I was like, touring was never my cup of tea, yada, yada, yada. Like it was just like a part of the package that was something that I would do. I would take it any day. Like if someone were to be like, "You want to go on tour?" I'd be like, "Well, yeah, I'm not doing anything else." Um, but I think what has changed just across the board has been that mutual appreciation, just putting into perspective the all of the nuances in a tour that you would take for granted, I would take for granted. um it's just like it's not easy work touring how I do, touring how tour just a tour in general is not easy. It's a lot. And it can be physically draining. So I think in the past it was just I'd reached my my limit. And uh now in particular, not only do the crowds, um I mean, just the first leg of this tour was just, it was wonderful because there was just there's just a gratitude that exists now that was not present before on both ends of the spectrum. And I think that has everything to do with how I perform any song, just feeding off of energy. And so when that energy is based in something that is, based in humility, it's it's felt, and the performance is just, it's enhanced, it's better. So I've really tried to also just blend songs from Suburban Nature and blend them into the newer songs. I know most people would probably want to hear Clementine from Suburban Nature, but how do you go from Clementine to Championship,
Thrilling.
Yeah.
and Swelling? Exactly. Like, how do you make that jump? So I think it's just taken a lot of like trial and error, and quite honestly a lot of tours to figure out how to make these worlds meet. But it's been so helpful to have gratitude in the middle of that.
I'm kind of curious, what kind of artist is Sarah on tour? So she does a show, it's lit, all the fans came out. What does she do after the show?
Girl, I chill, I smoke a fatty.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, there is the other part of that work is the merch table, which is
You enjoy that part?
No, ma'am, I do not. But it's a part of the work. And if I were going, into an office, everyone finds new ways to bitch and moan. Like, you reach the point that you work
I want that on a shirt.
for so
Finds new
long.
ways to bitch and moan on a shirt.
We do. And
Yeah.
12-year-old Sarah would be stoked at what I'm doing right now. So I have to it's a constant reminder. So yeah, when it comes to the merch table, not fun, a lot of dumb questions, part of the job. You know?
Do you make fun of people when they ask a stupid question? You say, that's a dumb question. That's
No,
Probably not.
I aim to please. I mean, I've gotten a little mad at times, but
well, do you
no.
find, are you getting a variety of, are you seeing more like, do you see a lot of teen girls in your audience? Do you see more people in their 30s and 40s? Do you see a mix? Like what is
A
your
pretty
audience
good
been like?
mix, which I'm stoked on, honestly. Like I like the all inclusive, but you know, with Torres, you know, the leg one of this tour, like I got a lot of new fans, which was fantastic. And it, you know, ranged from like teenagers to, you know, 60-year-old men. So I was,
Yeah.
it was
That's
good.
a weird
Yeah.
mentality, I would think, because you've been around for more than a decade, but you still have to be like, there's still new people finding you. You can't
Right.
pretend that everyone knows who you are already, you know?
It's an ego check because in the bigger picture, you know, I have not been doing this long. In my head, I have, but I haven't, you know?
Right.
And everyone's got to hear you for a first time, you know? Like, just because this is what I've been doing I'm not entitled for you to know who the hell I am. And so it's ego check, but like, it's a good one. You know, it's a good one to remember.
How do you feel about kind of, I mean, I guess over the past, 10 years, the internet has become another job that an artist is kind of required to do. And, you know, kind of, it's like you have to make the music, you have to put out the music and work with a team. And then, you have to self-promote through like 5, and they want you to do like 5 different platforms. It's kind of nuts. How do you work through that?
It's hard to keep up, honestly. I mean, my girlfriend has been really helpful. She knows a lot about each of these platforms and, you know, the usefulness in them. That, you know, they're all tools. And to be quite honest, I don't know how to use most of these tools. But for me, that's like, it's super, super interesting. And there are pros and cons to that, right? Like now the door is ajar, and now we see how much talent there is out there. Like it's insane. Like, and it's all right there. So I think, you know, learning how to use these tools is really important. But I also, the duality in that is, yes, it is absolutely overwhelming at times.
I was just thinking about this the other day, that the definition of quote unquote making it is different now than it was before Spotify, before the internet. Making it 20 years ago meant radio play, meant your CD in Best Buy, meant charting a song. But now there's a different definition. Do you feel like you measure success now way differently now than you did 12 years ago?
I mean, probably. I would have to, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, doesn't everyone move the goalpost a little bit? Like when you're at a place, the place never really looks like what you thought it would look like.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. Like, do you pay attention to like how many streams you're getting and that kind of stuff?
No, not really.
That's really, you know what, the answer when we've asked that before in the past, it's always like, no, I don't pay attention, but yes, I really do, kind of stuff. So it's cool.
I mean, do you think that, do you guys personally think that it is a crapshoot? Like, do you think there is a formula to it?
This is Demi's territory. Demi, I bragged on Demi before, but Demi released a single a couple months ago and it's gotten 80, 90,000 streams without any kind of promotion.
Damn, Jordan, I didn't even look up my own numbers.
Yeah.
Mommy, go off. Yeah. Really? Hey.
Yeah. I mean,
no, but
so
it's just a different world now.
Okay, really Doug Burr.
Oh yeah.
I want to get into I've did a little research, and Doug Burr was a mentor of yours who's claimed to be super important to you. And I think in this industry, mentors are so important, especially if you don't have parents that are in the industry or you're not from a place that, you know, there's music around maybe. So how did this mentor kind of navigate and kind of change your life?
MySpace. I met Doug on MySpace.
What? Who's Doug? Shout out Doug.
Yeah, Doug Burr on MySpace. He was just like another musician when I was still living in Dallas that I met. And I actually just had come back from Los Angeles, and I was just ready and so eager to do any and all shows. And Doug and I connected via MySpace and started playing shows together. And he had already, had an established presence in the regional area of, where I was living, Dallas-ish area. And he just kind of I just kind of tagged along with him. And he's just a phenomenal musician, phenomenal songwriter. I haven't talked to Doug in so long, but yeah,
it's time to reach back out to Doug.
Yeah,
it is. Shout out to Doug Burr. Shout out to you, sir. Yeah, it was a pivotal moment. I think if it's one of those things, if you look back, it's easy to forget, but if you look back, you see that, oh, okay, if I hadn't have met this person, maybe things wouldn't have happened, or started for me.
Maybe you'd be an English teacher right now, or maybe
yeah.
Did you have another non-musical career picked out?
What's that?
Did you have a non-musical career picked out before you got into music professionally?
Here's a wild card. I think I'd want to drive semis.
Nice.
Wait, what is that?
Like semi trucks. I just like driving.
You do? Are you a road tripper?
Yeah, but sometimes I like, it's not necessarily about the stops. I just like moving.
So you want to be is like a farming thing? I'm a city girl. I've noticed.
I like that Demi doesn't understand the concept of long haul trucking. Like she's never.
No, I don't know
anything really. Like all the 18-wheelers you see on the highways. Like, I think the main thing that's stopping me is just like, I don't love sleeping in a vehicle. And I've actually been in 18-wheelers, and they've got like the bunk beds, they're stacked, and also it's just dangerous and a lot of mess.
Yeah.
So what do these trucks do, Jordan? Do they transport like products?
Yes. Like any product you buy at the store was probably transported on a large semi truck, an 18-wheeler.
Yeah.
I'm from Kansas City, Sarah, so I'm very familiar with the whole. My uncle Bill was a trucker, and he had a really badass truck. Yeah, with a nice sleeping quarter in the back too.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
deck it out.
What kind of, when you're on tour, do you do a bus, a van? Like what's your situation there?
A minivan, because it's just me and a drummer. Keep it super simple, like streamlined gear. I've done the 15 passengers and been on the buses, and can't afford the buses right now, so we're keeping it small.
Had simple. To cut all the backup singers off. They can't come.
That's right. Yeah. Sorry, guys.
Our producer has wanted to talk about your album art for this new project. Can we bring that up?
Yes. So it's all my dad was a high school women's basketball coach. So basketball was a big part of my childhood on into high school. Played until I could not play anymore. But I think for some reason, I don't know if y'all have caught on to this, or maybe just my eyes attuned to it. I think with our generation, like there's such a recent marketing of like 90s basketball, like nostalgia. Have y'all noticed this?
Yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm. There was I got a press release for a rapper who released an NBA Live 95 themed EP.
It's so strange, but I love that it's happening. I really do, because I lived for that era of basketball. And so after the championship, I was like, oh, let's make the cover like trading cards. So they're now like little drop card collectible basketball cards, sports cards.
Are you a Mavs fan? You're from Dallas?
I'm a Mavs fan, but I was all about the Houston Rockets.
Right, because you were a kid when they did the championship with Elijah Wan and Kenny Smith.
Olajuwon was my man. 34. Yeah, he was my man. Yeah, I don't really, to be honest, I do not follow basketball anymore. I kind of keep up vicariously.
They're all a bunch of whiners now. Let's be honest. Like the NBA, they whine too much. If they don't like the team they're on, they demand a trade. Like I think about, you talk about the 90s basketball. We're in New York here, and the Knicks never won a championship. And imagine if the Knicks were around today, Patrick Ewing would be complaining about the lack of talent around him and demand a trade because John Starks wasn't good enough, you know? And so it's just a different, you know, I had to get that off my chest. I guess I've been holding it in for a while.
Why do you think that there's such, I mean, I again, like, and maybe every era has done this, but I can't recall, like, you know, my elders ever being like, there was never like, I mean, I guess marketing has changed, really. That's what it is.
Yeah, and the salaries are so huge, and they're guaranteed. If you sign a contract for $25 million a year, you're going to get $25 million a year. Whereas in the NFL, they could cut you and they don't have to pay you. So that's the big difference there. And that completes the sports talk portion of the show. We'll be back with all the latest MLB news after the break. Sarah, before we go here, I do want to talk. We talked about this, the spirit of collaboration, and you did work with Eminem on the song "Bad Man." You co-wrote it. You sang vocals on it. What was that experience like working with the Marshall Mathers?
Okay, so how it happened, I was working with a producer named S1. Hello, S1. Shout out to my friend. S1 and I kind of started this just top lining project where he would send tracks and I would write a hook over it. And then I would go into the studio. And when the very first time we started working together, I wrote Bad Guy. And I guess it was like maybe 6 months later that we found out that it had landed on Eminem's record. Actually, I never met Eminem, but I did meet the one and only Dr. Dre, which I still think, oh man, I still think about that. It was so fucking cool. He couldn't have been cooler. Hung out in his studio. I could brag all day about it.
Did you smoke a J with Dr. Dre?
God, I wish. I literally, I was frozen. I was overcompensating for the squealing that was happening internally.
The internal squealing.
Oh, I didn't touch my phone. I was like, don't pick up your phone because he'll know that you're texting someone. I'm hanging out with Dr. Dre. Didn't touch it.
That's funny that crossed your mind.
So
like, don't touch my phone. He'll think that I'm,
Yeah, I just sat there. I maybe spoke 2 sentences. He, asked me a few questions. Other than that, I did not speak. And
I'm sorry, Sarah, go ahead.
Oh no, it was just, there was a lot of distance between me and the actual like in game, because where S1 had already worked with Dr. Dre, this is how it all kind of came about. He did Kanye West's, or the actual track that he one of the producers on that. So he already had this connection. So when, I came into the picture, he had already established relationships with all, Dr. Dre and the 14 other producers that were involved with this one song. But where it left off, he basically, long story short, Eminem made this one song into 2 separate songs. So there's a whole other part of the track that I had nothing to do with, like where it kind of like gets violent, and which was interesting to hear. But
Eminem-ish, yeah.
Yes, yeah. It's just like talking about burying a woman, and I was like, oh, this should be interesting for the Clementine fans. Yeah.
All those gentle-hearted Sarah Jaffe fans out there, and had to hear.
Not a singer-songwriter anymore.
Sarah, you were the right age when Eminem first came out. The first 2 LPs that were just, the big ones. You were like in middle school. Did you grab onto those? Yeah. Did your parents think that you were going to become a murderer because you were listening to Eminem?
Man, anytime Eminem wasn't, I really liked a few collaborations he did. I liked that, you don't remember that song Renegade that he did with Jay-Z?
I don't remember Renegade.
It's really good. It does slap. But I wasn't really big into Eminem. I think he can spit, but he wasn't like my go-to.
Who were you into middle school? Were you into cool stuff or like dorky pop stuff?
Both. I really Missy Elliot Missy Elliot. I remember the first time was the against my window.
I can't stand the rain. Yeah.
Yeah, rain. Yeah. Oh, that video, Super Duper Fly. That video changed it for me. I mean, she has the best videos. So the visual element of that, like, I was a forever fan then. But I was big into her. I also loved, I mean, I still have the same kind of taste. I pretty much listen to everything, honestly.
I was more of a emo kind of kid. A lot of crunchy guitars and yearning. A lot of yearning. There was a lot of yearning in those songs.
Oh, I had that shit too.
Yeah.
God. Yeah. Some of it's just, I mean, when nostalgia is there, it's hard to hate on it, but some of it I listen back to now and it's cringy. Yeah.
Yeah. Demi, did you listen to cool music in middle school or did you listen to dorky music in middle school?
Oh my goodness. It was like a mixture of the Police from like my parents. So he had some real good like classic rock. And then growing up in New York, it was like hip hop. And then and then the cool kids were playing in like these alternative bands. So it was like
who were your hip hop go-tos in middle school?
Dang. Honestly, it was more whatever was on the radio with 808s.
Yeah.
Anything kind of like just bopping on the radio.
Yeah.
Demi's young, Sarah. Demi's a youngin', so.
Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, because I mean, she was listening to you when she was 16, so yeah. It's cool that you.
I can't do the math. Demi,
yeah.
Can you do the
math? Honestly, it's so cool to ask you about swelling. That's why I love this show. We have like the cool.
Oh, I bet I would just have like a laundry list of questions for I'm into like a lot of like younger artists that are coming out right now are blowing my mind. Have y'all heard of this? Forgive me because I cannot pronounce her name. Benee, Benee. Have you heard her?
Yeah, I've heard her. Yeah.
I mean, just like these younger kids, just blowing my mind right now in music. Just
one of our favorites. One of my favorites here in New York is Pom Pom Squad, which we had on the show a while back. Me and Baron.
Oh, I haven't heard them. I'll check them
out. Yeah. It's Pom Pom Squad. She's kind of got a kind of an early '90s Riot Girl kind of sound, a little heavy. I don't know. I like that kind of early '90s throwback song. Huh?
She's based in New York.
Yeah, totally New York. Her dad is actually MC Search, like from Third Base, the early old school rap group. But her band is like totally heavy guitar driven, cool stuff. Yeah,
that's so
shout
cool.
out Pom Pom Squad. Shout out Mia.
Yeah.
All right, Sarah, we gotta go, but thank you so much for joining us on the show. Really appreciate it.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
Let's see in New York. We should all chill. Like what?
I know.
That's good.
I'll see you around the block. Damn.
Yeah. When is your New York show? Do you have it off the top of your head?
Yes. The 21st at Bowery.
Okay. At Bowery Ballroom.
Yeah.
As opposed to Bowery Electric. Yeah. Cool.
I'm looking forward to it. And hopefully I'll see you in the neighborhood.
Absolutely. I love Ridgewood. Ridgewood's great. Ridgewood feels like a very kind of like a small town kind of feel within Brooklyn, Queens. Yeah.
Yes. We just move in our own little boroughs. It's cute. I love Ridgewood. I really love it.
Yeah. All right. So that's it. We'll talk to you later. Thanks.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
That was Sarah Jaffe. Her latest EP, The Championship, is out now and on tour right now. So I get joy, Demi, out of watching you ask a question or talk to a musician that you admired when you were younger. And you're right. That is kind of a cool benefit of this show.
Mm-hmm.
So was that? Did you get the answer you wanted? Was it? Did you get the interaction that you wanted?
Absolutely. I mean, sometimes you guys, I text Jordan, I'm like, wait a second, we get to ask them whenever we want. This is awesome. So yeah. This is why we love this show.
So next week we have our next two shows. Our next two shows are lined up. We had an unfortunate, if you guys are regular watchers / listeners, you know, we did not do our scheduled show earlier this week with Weathers, and we've rescheduled that for next Thursday, so a week from today at 1 p.m. And then the next Thursday, we have a very one of a band that's been huge all over the world. Seether will be here on Thursday, the week after next. So stay tuned for that. And as always, you can check out all our clips from our shows on YouTube and Facebook and Twitch. And follow us on Instagram at Jordan Edwards Studio for me and Demi_Ramos. And of course, stream Demi's new single.
Oh
get those plays up, baby. Get those plays up. Yeah. All right. We'll talk to you later, guys. Thanks a lot.